All right, everybody, welcome to the first ever Freelancers Gaming in Space podcast, or we sometimes call it Freelancers Spaced Out podcast, but we wanted to get gaming in there some way. So the first ever experimental Freelancers Gaming in Space podcast is underway. I'm your host, Wrangler Actual. I am from South Arkansas, the south part of the United States. My gamer tag is Wrangler Actual, just spelled out, no spaces, no numbers. And it's my gamer tag for PlayStation Network, for Xbox Live, for Steam on PC, and for YouTube. So you can reach me on any of those platforms. I also have an email, wrangleractual@gmail.com, if you would like to email me in any way. And those are my contact points. My background is I am the founder of the Freelancers. About 2 to 3 years ago, a small group of us, just a couple of us, started flying in Elite Dangerous, and we founded the Freelancers. And then the rest is history. So we started branching out and adding people to us, and that's how we began the Freelancers. Here with me is a couple of my good gaming buddies. I'll let them introduce themselves. Jello, would you like to go first?
Sure. I'm Jello Cudgel. I'm from Vancouver, Canada, West Coast. It's a gamer tag. That comes from a discussion I was having with someone about kind of how'd you put it, like contradictory terms and that, and something came up like, well, you hit like, and he wanted to say, something that wasn't very forceful, but kind of humorous, and so I somehow came up with like hit you like a Jello cudgel. So like
Okay, I wondered that often myself.
yeah, I can't.
How we came
That's
up.
as best I remember it. That's kind of where it came from. So
See, I learned something already. So,
yeah.
all right,
As
tell
far
us
as
how you can be reached.
sorry.
Oh, tell us how you can be reached, Jello.
Oh, how can I be reached? Well, I can be reached at jello.cudgel@gmail. I also have a very small YouTube presence, which is Jello_Cudgel, I believe. That's, I think, it for me. I am on Steam. I didn't actually look up. I think it would probably be Jello_Cudgel as well.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah. As far as background goes, I started playing Elite Dangerous. I guess it was a year and a half ago, I'll say. I listened to a YouTube content creator called Hawks Gaming, who's amazing, and he kept saying, it's a great game, but you're a lot better playing with people. And I was getting a little frustrated, couldn't learn anything, and then I came across Freelancers, and I remember the line, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. And I really like that, and yeah, took off
And
from there.
boom, here you are.
Yeah, I don't really play Elite Dangerous. That's a long story, but I like the group so much, Wrangler and other players like Spitfire Sailor and Galactic Badger and Roman and all these wonderful people. So I'm more of a Star Citizen person now, and but still part of Freelancers. So that's
Indeed.
where I'm from.
All right, so let me turn to my left here. Epitaph, tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself, sir.
I'm Epitaph_DF, just a random name I came up with a long time ago. From Norfolk, Virginia. Gamer tag is Epitaph_DF. That's also I think it's my Twitch and my PSN. I can be reached. Email is the number 1 epitaph@gmail.com. Background. Well, I haven't been around long, less than a year. Coming up on a year here sometime. I think it's like May or June, something like that. And I met you guys, and Nara was my first place, and doing a little search and came across you guys there.
All right, so you found us on Inara. So Epitaph,
Yep.
I have to tell you, you have, and I think it's here on Discord, on our Discord server. When I look at your profile, it's the view of someone in the grave getting dirt thrown on top of them. And it says,
Yes.
I always have the last word. And so I sort of tied that profile back to your gamer tag and said, I think it sort of means you're going to bury people. I don't know. So so awesome. So thank you guys for joining me today. I know this is our first run and sort of rough and experimental, but we'll get it. And so thank you. And we're going to just have a conversation. Just think of it as having a conversation here with us. And so our first topic is a little bit of background since it is our first podcast. Who are the freelancers? I touched on that a little bit, but we are a small group. We started out in Elite Dangerous. We have since expanded to Elite Dangerous on all three platforms: PS4, PC, Xbox. We fly in space in various games, from Star Citizen with Jello and his team and our team over there, to Elite Dangerous, to Dreadnought, to Eve Echoes, to No Man's Sky, to Halo. Our focus is sort of anything space oriented and or anything futuristic oriented. So I couldn't deny Halo. Halo was probably our last edition channel, but it is futuristic. It is space based, so I couldn't deny adding it. We do have a Discord server, and we'll put that link in the show notes. We do have in-game squadrons in Elite Dangerous, and we do have, correct me if I'm wrong, Jello, I believe it's called an organization
Yes.
in Star Citizen. And so that we'll have all those in the below this in the show notes so that everybody can get to them. We welcome anyone. The only thing we do ask is that we keep it family friendly. We've always been family friendly. We've had some youngsters, I say youngsters, 16 to 18 in the past. To me, a youngster's 30 now, but you know, we've had some youngsters in there, so we try to keep it clean and wholesome. The only other request is respect for the individual, so we respect each other. All right. Anything else on that? Anything I missed, guys, on who the freelancers are that you guys would like to add?
No, I think that sums it up pretty well. I think one thing that when we first started playing together, that I really liked about the freelancers ethos was, you know what, if you want to do stuff by yourself, just occasionally pop in, or if you want to be absolutely regular, like I know a lot of groups in gaming, or you have to have, this experience, you have to pass this test, you have to be so many hours or whatever it is. It's there's benchmarks and all that kind of thing. Whereas freelancers is very say accommodating for, if you want to fly by yourself and just drop in, that's great. If you don't,
Yeah.
if you want to the activity is up to you, as long as
Yeah.
you're somewhat present.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out, Joel. Thank you for that, because we like to mentor new players. We like to be helpful when we can. In fact, just this weekend, I've got 150 million in wing missions for a couple new Xbox players coming in to Elite Dangerous. So we are very casual. We just ask that you stay somewhat active. We've recently went through a server cleanup of people that, just hadn't been active in like 6 months, a year. So we had to clean up our platforms, but stay somewhat active, but otherwise casual. If you want to come over to the group and fly with us, so be it. If you want to do your own thing, as you said, Jello, that's a great call out. Anything Epitaph that you'd like to add as far as the freelancers?
No, I mean, you guys pretty much got it covered.
Okay. All right. So, and you can always see freelancers content, by the way, on my YouTube. If you want to see, we have an introductory video out there. We have some of our squadron events in the past recorded out there. So if you want a little bit more on the background, you're welcome to visit that YouTube channel. Not that I'm trying to self-plug myself or anything, but that is a resource. I heard that. Steve.
Well, no, it's actually because it just made me think of the one other thing that I'd like to say about freelancers is,
Sure.
I love the I think there are two videos that I remember, the kind of introductory video, but also there's one other, and just some of the shenanigans that uh, you guys got up to. I think those were both before I joined, but I remember the Type 9 canyon racing.
Yep.
And for those who don't know, that's like trying to I don't know, have a race with a school bus, kind of, on a Formula One race. And then there was something, I think it was Badger and Spitfire who were up to some sort of something where one was shooting the other, and they were just having it was hilarious. I love that um,
You sparked memories. We had a SRV race at one point, and at one point I remember someone, I think it might have been Kath, had an SRV on the ship and tossed it up into space or something with one of our members in it, and they were just having some fun. And it's all about fun. And I like to go back to what you said earlier. If you're not having fun, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
And that's sort of our mantra here. And so, yeah, great comments, both guys. Thank you for that. All right, so let's move on to topic 3. 2021 is a wrap. Can you believe we're sitting in 2022 in gaming?
No.
Same here. It goes by fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right, so I have a little bit of a stats in here, courtesy of PlayStation Network, who sent it out just a few days ago, and then courtesy of Jello, who brought his stats with him from PC. So for me, I'll let you guys decide if you want to cover your stats. I'd love for you to. If you'd rather me cover your stats, I'll do that, but I will probably review a little bit about them as we go. So it's up to you.
I'll let you take that on.
Okay. All right. So Wrangler on PlayStation. So this is primarily just PlayStation for me. My number one game in 2021, according to PlayStation Network, is, surprisingly to me, Elite Dangerous with 189 hours.
That is surprising.
And so I'm guessing that early in the year before Odyssey rolled out, I was pretty active in there, and then sort of tapered off. Got a little burnout, to be honest, and sort of tapered out. My second in the rankings was No Man's Sky, which does not surprise me, with 143 hours. Love the expeditions in No Man's Sky. Love the challenge. And so spent a lot of time in there. I actually would have pegged it, if I were picking it, to be my number one. And then number 3, Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I spent 129 hours on a playthrough, my 4th playthrough of the trilogy of games in Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which is entirely story-based and single player. Probably need to do a 5th one before long. I'm starting to feel the hankering. My number 4 was PGA Tour with 44 hours. Jello, you and I got in a couple rounds in PGA Tour. You sort of showed me how it was done.
Oh.
We need to hit the course sometimes if we can ever pry ourselves out of our cockpits in our spaceships long enough. We need to hit the course.
Right.
Some more. We play on Cubeo 3 or we'll play on Earth. It doesn't matter.
I like the low gravity. It's nice hitting a drive.
As long as it's Earth-like. I don't do too well on volcanic planets, but I tend to lose balls into the volcanoes and stuff for some reason. I don't know what draws me there, but and then oddly enough, Call of Duty Warzone, I think it's 21 hours. I did spend a little bit of time, again, when I was burnt out with a little bit of space, spent a little time in first-person shooters. I also pulled a few more little stats because Epitaph, you made a great point to me when I was ribbing you about your hours. Do you remember what that rib was that you gave me back, that point that you sent back to me?
Yeah, that you had such few hours. I have way more hours on Elite Dangerous, but I have one console.
Exactly.
You have 3 systems.
Exactly. I was trying to tell Epitaph, hey, bud, you have a problem here. And he's going like, he's going like, excuse me, I'm on one platform, you're on 3.
That represents, that 180 some odd hours you have represents 1/3, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep, because I went and looked after Epitaph sort of put it back at me and said, and a valid point back. Elite Dangerous. Now, this is not for just 2021. I couldn't get just 2021, but overall, on PC, 659 hours in Elite Dangerous, 111 hours in Xbox Elite Dangerous, and around 40 hours in Halo Infinite. So yeah, I have a problem too. it's
Yeah.
it's a
I
problem.
guess I see that from a little bit different perspective. One thing that absolutely amazed me was how you could keep, because you have or had Elite Dangerous on a PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, and you basically run Freelancers, right?
Right.
I'm like, I can barely keep up with just playing Elite Dangerous on PlayStation when I did. How does this guy, like, just with key bindings alone?
Yeah, the key
And like,
bindings.
I don't know how you do that. Like that, I'm very impressed that you can keep multiple platforms
Well, thank you
up
for
in the
that.
air, and that, like,
It's
I'm impressed with that. That's a positive as
yeah.
far as I'm concerned. But
I sort of had to grind early in the game to restart the game to get the squadron set up on each platform.
grind?
And the keybinds are indeed a challenge. In fact, I use the HOTUS. I have a Thrustmaster HOTUS that is compatible with PS4, PS5, and PC, but is not compatible with Xbox. So I have to fly by controller. And Epiteth caught me again putting an image of the controller in the Discord server for my own use on, like, how are these keybinds? And Epiteth, I believe you said something like, do you remember?
Oh, go ahead and keep posting pictures because the first thing to go is the memory, and so we won't
Exactly.
hold that against you. It's
Exactly.
a safe space.
He's going like, it's a safe space. There's no shame in it. But yeah, I'm just now getting back to where I can comfortable with the Xbox controller making flights. In fact, I got interdicted and lost a T9 of gold twice,
Oh,
which really burnt my hide.
yeah,
So then I decided, okay, I got this cutter sitting over here on the carrier. I'll just try the cutter, and I'm fine with the cutter. It just was the T9 was so sluggish that I
yeah,
couldn't fight them off without knowing my keybinds really well.
yeah.
And so anyway, and oddly enough, we're having a little bit of new life over on Xbox. We've got a couple people actively flying with me. I think it's because Xbox has just dropped into Game Pass and is free for all the Game Pass. And I think they said the other day I saw there was 25 million Game Pass members that pay a monthly fee and get all these games it's sort of like the Netflix of games.
Yeah.
And so they drop into Xbox and drop into Elite Dangerous and check it out. So we're glad to have them.
Well, I was happy to see, because it seems like there's been some real movement, like new members coming into
Yeah,
freelance
Epitaph keeps
lately.
telling me
So,
we need PlayStation members, but I'm trying, and so I keep
right.
telling him, it's and that opens up to me, and I don't want to digress too much here, so you guys pull me back. But how much better would Elite Dangerous be if it was cross-platform? Wouldn't that be amazing? We could have PC players,
Oh, yeah.
Xbox players, and PlayStation players all in the same black. We would be 3 times as strong.
Yeah.
I sit back and think about that. I know it's a big ask, but it just amazes me at how much stronger we would be were we able to see each other. Because there's
Yeah.
many hours I'm on Xbox flying, and Epiteth or someone is flying. Kath is on, I think, right now flying on PlayStation, and we can't see each other. We're just not there.
Hmm.
So, and that speaks a lot to our Discord server. That drives our Discord server to be our main comm hubs
Hmm.
because it is cross-platform. Okay, so Epithet, do you want to cover your stats? Enough about me.
Go right ahead and rib me.
Okay, here we go.
Wrangler? No.
Is our PlayStation commander. He is our representative in PlayStation. So many times he's the only one flying in Elite Dangerous on PlayStation, but he's consistently out there and consistently working for the squadron. And so before I rib you too much, Epithet, I want to give you a good thing. I salute you for that, for your consistency there. Okay, so Epithet, number 1, Elite Dangerous, 865 hours in 2021. That's 40 hours a week. That's what,
Well,
4?
also, I started in the middle of the year, like May or June.
All right, so you've
So
been,
that only represents that little bit of time.
yep. Okay, so, and I want to loop back to Elite Dangerous here in just a minute, but let's go ahead through your games. Number 2, the Talos principle, which I am not familiar with, 43 hours. So is that game any good?
Oh, yeah, I'm into puzzle games.
Okay.
And it's a lot of puzzling.
Okay. So it's sort of like a story puzzle type game.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Watch Dogs Legion, 40, if I'm seeing this right, it's a little blurry, 42 hours. So almost as much in Watch Dogs. Need for Speed Rivals. I did not know you were a racer.
That was my first PlayStation 4 game, and I still like to pull it out and run around some.
Okay. So when you're not flying in space, you're speeding down the highway.
Pretty much.
23 hours. And what is XING? Xing? Is it crossing? How do I
Zing,
say
I
it?
think is how it's pronounced.
Zing, the Legend Beyond 15 or so hours. If I'm seeing that right, could be 18.
Yeah, it's random that is my fifth game. It's a VR title.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. So VR is out there. I didn't get any VR games in my listing. I do some boxing VR, but I obviously haven't done enough exercise in it to make the top 5. And I also do some Eve Valkyrie VR, which I like. So cool. So Jello, hopefully that wasn't too painful for you. Elite Dangerous, you've been doing a little bit of community goals out there too, right?
Me?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, I have. Made a pretty penny on it too.
Okay. So if I understand right, you correct me, but it's building a station bridge to Columbia. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, there's been the most recent one was a third step. The second step was cap ships, some capital ships. I want to say 56 between here and Colonia.
Wow.
I'm not 100% sure on that number, but the most recent one was, depending on the tier level we reached, there was going to be either 5 or 6 actual stations that they're hoping once they're out there, they'll create their own little bubbles.
Okay.
But
So
they'll be between here and Colonia.
to give someone on their way to Columbia a respite from just deep space, right?
Plenty of little pit stops.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Okay. Well, cool. Cool. Okay. So here we are. Jello, did you want to go cover this or do you want me
no,
to?
you go. You can go.
Okay. I sort of jotted them down wrong here, but I'm going to reorganize them because I think your number 1 game, 1,000+ hours in Star Citizen, triple digits.
Yeah, which is
Wow.
Yeah, and you know who put me on to Star Citizen? That was you.
Guilty. I take the Fifth
That
Amendment.
was you.
I take the
That's
Fifth
okay.
Amendment.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
No, if I had the PC to play Star Citizen, I would play Star Citizen. Star Citizen is equivalent. I don't want to say equivalent, but it's another option for spacers, right? So if you're not into Elite Dangerous, you might find yourself into Star Citizen. So there is certainly nothing wrong with that. But I'm just impressed that you spent 1,000 hours in Star Citizen.
I'm kind of amazed and maybe slightly embarrassed when I started adding it up. Like, oh my god! The thing that just made me think of is so Galactic Badger and I have been probably the two most prominent freelancers in Star Citizen, and he told me when it became apparent that we were both kind of, this is something good. He said because the way it's structured is they're Cloud Imperium Games are the producers of the game. They don't have a publisher, so all of the money that they fundraise for the game goes into the production of the game, and they do that by selling ships. So in Elite Dangerous, you grind for ships. You don't pay. You pay for the the paint jobs and all that, whereas you actually pay for different ships. And he said to me, he goes, if I end up financially bankrupt because of this is your fault. And I kind of laughed because I'm like, well, oh yeah, okay, that won't be a problem for me. I'm just buying the base, a base ship, and I'll just grind for it. And now when I look at how much money I've spent on ships, I'm like, oh my goodness, like
Real life money.
Yeah,
real
life
money.
Yeah, real actual money. I said I can't believe it, but it's Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. In fact, yesterday I think I had probably the most fun I've had with some brand new players and also with a group that we're associated with just a much bigger group. I can probably go into that a little bit more.
So how many members do we have over in Star Citizen? I don't get over there much.
I would say, I think there's about 30 or so that are part of the Discord, probably, well, maybe 10 to 15 or so that are regular. We have kind of a nice mix because we're affiliated with a group called Synchronizers, who are huge. They have 2,000 members, and we're kind of it's almost like a squad within that in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some veteran players, people who've been playing this game since 2014, who come in and they help Badger and myself kind of get started. And now Badger and I are helping people who are just starting out. So we have this kind of, it's a little bit complicated, but
sounds cool.
yeah,
I keep seeing things like I'm in jail. Somebody got killed on my ship. Wrong door. You got spaced. Stuff like that, right?
The funniest part about yesterday was, so I've actually really enjoyed helping newer players start out in Star Citizen, but I will admit I've spent too much time in prison in the game. Badger's been actually teasing me about it because it's like I won't do anything wrong and somehow I end up with a crime stat, which is basically you end up with a crime stat. You can either clear it or you basically you break into the computer system and you expunge your record, or you get killed and you go to jail. And so he's been teasing me about this kind of for months now. And then yesterday we had one guy who inadvertently got a crime stat, and then some of the veterans from Synchronizers and the three that we were playing with teamed up to help this guy clear his crime stat. The short of it is I actually attacked another player who was trying to, take the guy with the crime stat out and killed him. So I should have immediately got a crime stat for that. And I'm like, how did I not, I trip over a rock and I get a crime stat, but I actually kill another player and I don't.
So you got away with one.
I only got away with one. And then by some other glitch, I would say at least 5 or 6 players that came to help this one guy ended up in jail. And I'm like, at the end of it, I'm going, how? Okay, so there's now 6 people in jail. One guy was in jail for 8 hours, which is a long sentence. And I'm still free, but the whole gameplay around it was just so much fun, because that's one of the great things about that game is you can do it by yourself, but there's also elements of people are so helpful. Like, community is so helpful, and when you get a group, it's like, okay, we're all banding together and going to help this guy, stay out of jail, even though 6 of them ended up in jail trying to do that.
And that's one of the things that keeps me going with Freelancers is community, right? That's what we're looking for, is community in whatever game we're in. All right. So 24.2 hours in Halo Infinite. I think I might have been the reason for that a little bit.
Yeah, you're also the reason for that.
Yeah. Because we played some together. Not that we would ever drive a mongoose off of the edge of the map and kill each other, or drive a warthog where we're not supposed to go and kill each other. Nothing like that. No. Okay. 11.3. Oh, sorry. Were you going to say something?
Well, I was going to say that with the warthog incident, you did call it.
I did.
You did say, anyone who wants to die, get on board. And
that was the mongoose, right? That was the
that was the mongoose.
Yeah, I did call it. I said, anybody that wants to die, get on board. And Joel said, here I am, and jumped on. And 10 seconds later, we were dead. Had no idea that pond was there on that map. But 11.3 in No Man's Sky, 4.4 in PGA, and 23.7 in Dreadnought. And Dreadnought was probably because of our squadron event, I'm guessing. And so primarily the triple digits for you, Star Citizen. So two heavy hitters here. Epitaph heavy hitting on Elite Dangerous, in Elite Dangerous, Jello heavy hitting in Star Citizen. Okay, so I want to transition just a little bit to topic 4, space gaming in general. So we've talked about these games we play, where we've talked about Star Citizen, we've talked about Elite Dangerous, we talked about Halo, Dreadnought, No Man's Sky, and we seem to enjoy, or at least I do, all of those. What do you guys feel like? Why are we drawn to space gaming? Anybody have ideas on that?
Well, I guess it's like there's so many aspects to space in general, like science fiction in general. Like this, I think as a species, we're just curious about the unknown. And as a kid, I was all like, Star Wars came out when I was 8, and I was immediately hooked. And so anything to do with space and science fiction is just there's so much potential for
Mm-hmm.
creativity and imagination, I think.
I think that might be likely of all. I think, Epitaph, are you a science fiction fan? As far
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
as far as television reading, I'm a science fiction fan as far as watching like things like The Expanse, Lost in Space, Star Trek, Star Wars. Yeah. I also look at it as I like to view futuristic. I'm not much on going back in time on games like Far Cry Primal, where you're a caveman. Epitaph, what about you? What draws you to space gaming?
Well, I don't know. I've been gaming since the Atari 2600, and my first console I bought for myself was a PlayStation 1, and that was Tomb Raider. And granted, you're in a limited space, but the space was so big to begin with. And so the more space that you can give me to play in, we were talking about my games. What's it called? Watch Dogs is an
Uh-huh.
open world game. So you have, Watch Dogs. This version is in London, and so you have all of London, every street. So give me an open world to explore, and I'm all about it. But you're sitting on this planet Earth, and you look out all around you, and it's big, but there's so much more that's directly above our heads. And
Mhm.
so, like, that's just that much more of what is out there. I always want to look around every single last corner to look and see what's under there, what's over that, what's back there.
So the
And
exploration.
yes, I'm all about the exploration.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah, that's another element. So futuristic, science fiction, exploration, openness. The openness. I often wondered that because at some point my daughter came through, and I was back when I was really grinding Elite Dangerous, and she came through and she made the comment. She said, "It's like you have a second job riding a freighter." And I stopped and I went, you're probably right.
Hmm.
You can get lost in the grind, but there is that space exploration futuristic that keeps me going. Yeah, anything else, guys? I mean, I think you both have hit some very important aspects of it that I haven't thought about. Um,
No, I think that covers it fairly well.
okay. All right. And so what's the future of space gaming? Where do you see space gaming going? My only opinion, I'm sort of hoping for crossplay. What do you guys see? Where do you see space gaming going?
I guess in a way because as my hours attest, I've been so immersed in Star Citizen. I mean, I've seen Starfield. Is that the?
Yeah, Starfield.
Yeah. That looks interesting.
That's by Bethesda, the maker of
Bethesda, right?
Skyrim.
Right. I think, and this experience yesterday has really kind of reinforced it. Because obviously space science fiction is a real interest for me. Anything that is set there I will take a look at. But the community, I think, and how a game mixes both, because there's times when I come home from work and I don't want to interact with another human being, even if it's just online. But
Right.
then there's times where getting in a group and doing stuff together is just so much more rewarding. So as much as Starfield looks very interesting, the fact that it's only single player, and then that kind of, it speaks to your point about cross-platform. Like, I think the more open a game is to having people take part in it, or be part of a community, is going to be crucial going forward. So
Yep, fully agree. That's one of my things with Mass Effect. I absolutely love Mass Effect, but it's generally all single player. You have a squad of AI, but you can't drop real players into that squad, and so that was sort of a
right.
shortcoming. It did have a little bit of multiplayer in Mass Effect 3, which they didn't renew, they didn't remaster. And Andromeda had a little bit of multiplayer, but I just don't spend a lot of time in Andromeda, that game. But yeah, I think I'm greatly looking forward to Starfield as well, Jello. When for those times when I'm worn out from work and I just want to play a story-based game, I think Starfield's going to be exciting. Epitaph, what about you? Where do you think space gaming's going? Where would you like to see space gaming going?
I mean, we have some really good games out there. I mean, Jello's playing one. You and I are playing the Elite Dangerous. I mean, we have some. So more options would be welcome. The cross plays you mentioned. And for me, like I said, getting out there exploring is the big thing. And right now I can do that in Elite Dangerous. The only thing that could possibly make it better would be in VR. I mean, let me get into the game and actually be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, PlayStation's just announced their PSVR 2, and the stats on it look ridiculous.
Yeah,
So, unlike, I mean, what we have now, I've got the VR from the first version,
same,
and
same.
there are some enjoyable games out there, but most of it's all just really short, really simple, on rails. Give
Yeah,
me something where I can explore. Give me a full game where I can go
yeah.
into space. I mean, put, Elite Dangerous in that VR.
Mhm.
Oh, you guys wouldn't see me unless you got it on PlayStation.
So, so one thing, and I think I might have mentioned this to you before, is if you haven't checked out Eve Valkyrie, Eve Valkyrie was all of what you were talking about in VR, multiplayer battles against each other for like 4v4 was absolutely wonderful. And it was a branch off of Eve, which we haven't talked about. I have dabbled in Eve Online over on PC and Eve Echoes on mobile on iPad. It is, and it's still out there, I believe. I think it's still in the store, Epithet. It ought to be super cheap. If you ever decide you want to fly in it, it was the closest thing ever to flying in space I think I will ever have experienced. You get in the ship, it has eye tracking for your targeting. When you look at a target, it locks on and you can fire. You can fly through the midst and around capital ships with 360 views. Absolutely amazing game. But then after about a year or two in, I forget the publisher, but the makers of Eve decided it wasn't profitable and killed that team, sold that team off.
Mhm.
They made Eve Valkyrie to where you could play it in VR or not in VR, but in PSVR. And if you ever get out there, let me know because I'll fly with you out there. And it is absolutely cool. But I don't fly it that much because there's very few people still flying it 2 years after they discontinued it. But yes, and back to your point, Elite on PC is somewhat PSVR compatible. I actually jumped into my daughter's Samsung VR in Elite and got to look around in the cockpits of the ships, and it was absolutely amazing. The Python was so wide that I just couldn't I just couldn't believe the cockpit was that big in the Python. And and it makes sense. There's two seats sitting there, but when you get it in 3D view and you can get up and walk around in the cockpit and look around, it's absolutely amazing. There is a guy on Twitch, Malik VR, I think, that plays Elite in VR a lot, or at least he used to. So yeah, I'm with you. Give me a great full space game in VR and I'm there. And I will be there in PSVR too, because I even though I don't play PSVR very much, it is a great experience when I do play. So yeah. Okay. So for you,
Of
it's
course, it goes without saying that you can do it in No Man's Sky. I've
yeah,
done it.
agreed.
It's okay, but that's a different game. It's
Yeah, I
entirely different.
I have poked around in VR in No Man's Sky, and it's well done.
Yes.
It took me a little bit of getting used to, but it was well done. But I just haven't spent a lot of time in No Man's Sky as far as in the VR. I'm with you on that one. So for you, give me a good space game in VR. That's what I'm hearing, right? A full space.
Yes.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, in fact, I won't digress more to Eve Valkyrie. I was such a fan. I sent them a trophy a few years ago that I gave them a Wranglers Game of the Year trophy, and the developers all connected with me on Twitter. They all connected with me. I mean, it seemed like it made their day. Made their week to get a fan sending in I mean, I had the full trophy set up, the crystal looking square set up with engraved on it. That was how
nice.
much I loved this game, and sent it to them. They were in the UK. It costs more to send them to them in the UK than it did to make the thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you get a chance, Epita, check out Eve Valkyrie. Great game.
Well, I kind of want to see this award now. That's kind of piqued my.
I
I think that's an
I'll dig it up.
outstanding idea. That's really great.
I have
And
a picture of it.
if
I'll
I
dig
were
it
a
up.
developer and someone from across the Atlantic sent me that, I would have that would make my.
They sent me a picture. They literally sent me a picture of it sitting on their reception desk in their lobby.
That's
And
outstanding.
it was Game of the Year in the year from Wrangler Actual Award of Excellence. And they had this crystal little square sitting there engraved. And he said, look, it's right here in reception where everybody comes into our offices, pass it. And it just made their day. And it made me feel so good about it too. And then I still I still know a couple of their developers over on Twitter. We still connect every now and then and talk a little bit. So there's so much toxicity. I can't say it. Somebody say it for me.
Toxicity.
Thank you. There's so much of that in gaming. I think we should turn that around sometimes and give some positivity. I can say positivity into gaming. And so it was something that I just took it upon myself to do because I would hate to tell you the number of hours I spent in Eve Valkyrie. It's as much as Elite Dangerous or more, I'm sure. Back when there were people all over the place and you'd have 30 people in there at a time. The VR is immersive. Even in the lobby, the game lobby, you're sitting in a full flight suit and your teammates, you look to the right and they're sitting in 3D chairs around you. And then you're spinning up. And when you launch out the launch tube, it's like something off of Battlestar Galactica. Your controller is rumbling. You feel like your seat's rumbling and it shoots you out this tube of the capital ship. It's just amazing. I digress. I'm sorry. I'm back on Eve Valkyrie. That was not on our agenda. My apologies.
That's okay.
But that's what it is. We're passionate about space gaming, right? That's what it's all about.
Yep.
I'm going to throw a curveball. Go ahead, Jello.
Okay. Well, at the risk of making this a 3-hour podcast, I mean, you both know I don't play Elite Dangerous after a rather poor experience with the developer.
Right.
And I still hear bits and pieces with that, but I'd be curious to see how do you feel, because it seemed like for a while there Elite Dangerous was really tanking badly.
Yes.
There were lots of negative reviews on Steam, and
they went through a beating.
It's been really interesting as being part of Star Citizen now, and you're still finding players coming over, and you'll see this. There's a chat, there's a limit of 50 players on a server, and so the chat is fairly, you'll see it kick off quite a bit, and quite often you'll see, someone have a commander in their tag, and people will say, yeah, just come over from Elite Dangerous, and by quite a big margin, the Star Citizen community is really happy to have people from Elite Dangerous. For a lot of, we're almost like a group of refugees in a way. But I'd be curious to hear, because as both of you still play the game, how do you feel that it's rebounded?
Epidette, do you want to go first? You want me to jump in? Your call.
Well, I mean, I'm on console, so I'm not seeing the whole Odyssey. I'm getting a bunch of the updates because I'm involved. My end is involved in the updates, but I mean, I'd like them to get it ironed out and bring that to the console. But I mean, I'm playing, I'm not one to go into open. I'm in solo, or I'm pretty much solo playing on Wrangler server. I'm pretty much solo, but I mean, they're still supporting the game. They're still doing what they got to do,
I felt that.
and so yeah.
He
I'm
said
still
the other
waiting for you
day
to.
he said the
You
other
got to
day you got
clear it
16.
down.
Yeah. He said the other day you got 16 people in your private group, and I never see anyone. I'm like,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
29. It's 29.
29. Okay, 29. So yes, to echo. Now I'm a little different from Epitaph. Actually, I actually sort of feel like I'd rather them not bring Odyssey to the console. I've experienced it over on PC, and I think, Jello, to your point, I think a lot of the exodus has been from the PC platform.
Okay.
We're still seeing people jump in on Xbox, and we're still seeing some activity on PS4. I think most of the exodus has happened from PC, where if you look in our squadron, I think PC is pretty well dead. I see
Really?
I think I see Kath flying on PS4. I haven't noticed whether he's playing on PC or not, and I have not seen anybody. We have one, Blue Paint and Deckern, which I'm not sure how to say it, but there are a couple on PC. So I'm a little different from Epitaph. I hope that we get the good stuff, like the planet textures, maybe the fleet carrier interiors, but I don't want to run around in a station on foot. I don't care anything about first person shooter in the Elite Dangerous realm. That's just me. But don't slow my console experience down like you did the PC and crash it,
God.
like you
Yeah.
did the PC. So yeah, my feedback would be, I think it's mostly PC players have Exodus. I left the game altogether. How long would you say it's been? 6 months or so? And I'm just now getting past the burnout stage, the disappointment stage, and I've taught myself, if you go back in console, it's like the original game. It's not slow. It's not glitchy. It's any more than it was. So
Yeah.
it's the old game, so I can still play that. And Xbox is the same. It's relatively stable. It may be that way on PC, but I just can't bring myself to jump back in there. I go in and check the squadron, see if we have applications. But even I tried it one time, Jello, and I was standing around under my cutter, which is great to see what the size of the cutter. But as far as actually picking up a mission out of walking into the station, picking up a mission, have never done it. Just don't have the interest in it. I'm in Elite to fly in space,
Right.
and so feel free to bounce back at me with it.
Well, it's very interesting to hear, because I remember there was so much anticipation for Odyssey to drop, like Space Legs, like even that started when I started, like that had already started, sorry, when I started playing Elite, and there was so many people that were so excited. Yes, we're finally, getting out of the seat and going to be able to do this. And then there was such a massive disappointment for that. And then all the developers, people that worked for Frontier saying that, there's no gameplay involved in the whole immersion thing, which, having now played Star Citizen, I can completely refute, and most people I think would. Are there times where maybe it becomes a bit of a drain? Yeah, but I think that's one of the things that it kind of feels in a way like all the hopes that the Elite Dangerous community had, or the people who wanted Space Legs to work, Star Citizens, for all its faults, and there are plenty of them, really achieves pretty well. Like there's,
Right.
you go from being a pilot to first person, FPS style play, and the blending of those is so seamless that it's that's one of the things I really like about it, and I guess that's why you're
Well,
seeing
and
so many people.
part of my thought on that, Jello, is Star Citizen has been out how long? I don't know.
Well,
A few years,
this is
right?
20. Well, I think it started 2012, 2014. I mean, it's in some ways it's still an alpha, like
Yeah.
after almost 10 years.
But their scope has always been, through those years, walking Space Legs and transitioning into starships and back, right? Am I thinking right?
I would see, like I've only really been playing, and not even a year now, 8 months really, and it's interesting to hear some of the stories from the people who've been almost from the beginning. Like they said, you know, they would buy a ship, and then it was a big deal when you could actually go out and walk around your ship like you just described with your cutter. Like that was
Right.
a big, oh wow, you know, it's like I bought the ship. It's not just in concept anymore. There's a 3D model of it, and I can actually walk around it. And it kind of like I'm going, and you're still with this? Like what?
Yeah.
Wow. Like I'd be like, well, that's great for about 5 minutes, maybe tops, and then I'd be okay. Next
Yeah.
game. But
Well, I
even in
guess.
the
Go ahead.
8 month, well, just quickly, the
Yeah. Go
the
ahead.
8 months that I've played the game, I've seen like it's slow, but it's steady progress. Like
Right.
there's more things
Right.
being added. Um, Sometimes it feels like they'll fix 3 bugs and create 2 more, but there's still enough. Like you
Yeah.
know, my the number of hours I'm playing is not going down,
Right.
even
I
though
guess
I've
where my point was going, Jello, is I think they've been working on Space Legs longer than Frontier has. Frontier was a pure flight game until what, about 2 years ago. And then they started going, okay, we're going to do this first person shooter element. Yeah, I don't know if you remembered or not, but I expressed a lot of concern before it
yeah.
was ever released. Like,
Mhm.
okay, I hope they bring in people that really know how to do first person shooters, because that's totally different from flying a spaceship, and I was encouraged because they did bring in a couple of really high level industry people on first person shooters. But back in your other comments, I think Frontier sort of built the hype up a little too much themselves, because I remember promises like this is not going to slow down existing PCs. That was total bogus.
Yeah.
Yeah, the PCs were struggling unless you had a state of the art PC or a very new PC. One like mine that's 4 years old was it looked like playing something out of the 1980s, frame blocks at a time.
Mhm.
And a lot of people just fell out with that. Plus, let's be honest, Frontier's support was, we don't have issues unless you prove them to me.
Yeah.
And that just rubbed people the wrong way too.
Mhm.
So that was the exodus, I think. And I think I won't say that all of the exodus has been on PC. I believe there's been exodus off PS4. There's been exodus off of Xbox, all platforms. I mean, I saw Obsidian Ant begin to go critical and then move to other
Yeah.
games. Down to Earth Astronomy did the same thing. He expanded into Star Citizen.
Mhm.
So, and has
Hard.
both. So, you have to just play the game. I guess I would say here, you have to play the game that's the experience that you're looking for.
Mhm.
My experience that I'm looking for right now is I'm okay just flying a spaceship in space and not getting out walking around. If I had a super PC, I'd probably be over in Star Citizen, but I don't. And so both are good games in their own elements, I guess. Excluding the Odyssey, I still don't know. I still have mixed emotions on Odyssey. Jello, I'm sorry, Epitaph, any other, me and Jello's talked a lot on this. Any other thoughts from you on it?
Well, no, I mean, I joined like 5 minutes before Odyssey came out. And so I'm like, I've been playing, I've had Elite Dangerous for 2 or 3 weeks and I've been playing and I'm like, I really need some help with this because I have no idea what's going on. The game doesn't explain anything. Oh, look, freelancers. And I come in, it's like, oh, hey guys. So I walked into the room and there's 50 people in here. And then it's like I broke wind. And I'm like, hello, where'd everybody go? I came in here so that I could play with people, and now I'm by myself again.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
I'm a little upset with that whole because I mean I came in and it was like roses, and then boom, it was over. It was like I had 5 minutes and everybody was gone. And I'm
Well,
like,
and
okay,
from certainly appreciate that. I can appreciate that perspective. At one point, I told you, Jello, look, I understand if you need to find someone that's more active. I get it. And to your credit, you came back and said, nope, I'm a freelancer and I'm staying a freelancer. And I appreciate that. From a leadership perspective, it's very tragic from my opinion. I remember the early squadron days when we had 10 people show up for an event and we all parked our ships on a planet, and we went sort of around and everyone introduced their ship and told why they liked it and why it was their favorite ship. And then we SRV raced. And we had so much fun. And there is so much fun you can have building community in either Elite Dangerous or Star Citizen. So both are top-notch games. I was thinking the other day, I was flying, and I'm thinking, yeah, sometimes, but what would I do if they just took the game away? It's a hate relationship. I think I explained that to someone else. I love the game. I hate the support.
Mhm.
And so to each his own flavor of Kool-Aid, I guess is what I'm saying. Okay, I'm going to toss you guys. We're closely running out of time, but I'm going to skip topic 5. I feel like we've sort of already talked about that, but I'm going to toss you a curveball.
Okay.
So, Epitaph, you're up to the plate first.
Okay.
That make you happy?
I thought I heard relief over there from Jello.
You did. You absolutely did.
Okay, so here's your curveball. In a minute or two or less, tell me, what would you say to someone just jumping in the space game you're playing? What advice would you have for a new user, new gamer? Go.
Wow. Put me on the spot.
Yes, I did.
Coming into Elite Dangerous, I would say don't be overwhelmed. There is so much that you don't know and the game does not explain to you. Ask questions, go online, don't give up. Don't be overwhelmed, pretty much.
Okay.
Because it didn't take me long to start learning it, researching, figuring out how things work, asking questions. So, I mean, find a group like the Freelancers. Just stick to it. If you like the game, don't let it overwhelm you.
Okay. Good advice. Okay, Jello, Star Citizen.
Oh boy. Well,
New users.
I thought you were doing me a favor by getting Epitaph to go first, but I'm like, that's pretty much exactly what I would say about Star Citizen. In some ways, I guess I would say copy and paste what Epitaph just so eloquently said. And what I would probably add to that is not lower your expectations, but understand that you're playing an alpha. Like the game has changed so much in the 8 months that I've been playing. Don't get frustrated with, the glitches and like your stuff will go missing out of your inventory. You'll have, I spawned once you can set your spawn point. Somehow I ended up spawned right in the middle of the sun. I basically sitting in my ship in a pair of underwear.
Wasn't there a giant shopping cart at some point that was like the size of a ship or something? A giant.
I don't remember.
Okay, never mind. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Some of the things that can be incredibly lethal in Star Citizen include ramps to ships. They're lethal. You have to deliver there's things called box delivery missions. So you get a box, about a foot by a cubic foot. Those boxes are more lethal than Jaws. And then conversely, I had an org mate where it made sense for me. I got a crime stat. Basically, if you end up in prison, your prison time starts, so it's real time, prison sentence. So I'm like, okay, if I can just get myself to jail, my prison sentence will start. I'll go to bed, go to work, come home, and I'll be, being released. So she took the bounty on me, and then I just like, okay, she took all, I took all my stuff, stored it in her ship, and then all she had to do was, put a gun to my head and pull the trigger. So 4 shots to the head, and I'm still alive. And yet, a door will get you, elevators will get you, just standing there will get you.
Apparently, you're hard-headed.
You kind of have to accept that's, and I mean, it's not all that. Obviously,
so
there's a
the
lot.
glitches.
But yeah, there's still some moments where you're like, how did that? There's a whole there's a YouTube channel called Clip of the Day, and they say it's epic or crazy stuff in Star Citizen, and there is some epic gameplay battles going on, but there's also some okay. There was a glitch. Sorry, I'll just wrap up with there was a glitch at one point where if you sat in a particular seat you would shrink 50%. So
A mini
people
me.
actually, yeah, like, but it got to the point where you got so small, the only way people could see you was if you turned your headlight on and off. Like, you'd just be this little blip, 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 blip. You're like, like stuff like that. So
All right. So I think I heard, Epitaph, you said don't get overwhelmed, do some research, look at the tools out there, ask questions, join an organization. I think, Jello, you echoed all of that and said, realize there's glitches in Star Citizen and there are glitches in Elite Dangerous as well. So, and I'm going to echo all of those with, we have a Discord server. Freelancers have a Discord server, and you're welcome to ask questions there should you join. There was a time when we had 50 members, you would get 10 different answers and we'd see those bounce around, but now we'll try to answer your questions. And if we can't, we'll tell you, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know everything about Elite. I don't know everything about any game that I'm playing. So, sometimes it's just pointing in the right direction. Epitaph answered the other day a question and said, you don't have to go searching for the ships. You can use Anara or you can use EDDB. And that was a perfect answer, teach a man to fish. So yeah, that's what I would echo all of that. I think those were great answers, and you both did very well with the curveball question. So great. All right, so I want to just start wrapping up now. I'm going to wrap up by, first of all, I want to say thank you, Jello. Thank you, Epitaph, for your time, for sitting in with me and having a conversation. This has been the highlight of my day. It's been there's been some stuff going on in my personal life. It's a little bit stressful, and it's been great to sit down and talk to both of you on this type of conversation. So thank you both. If we do indeed successfully publish this and actually have users, we'll have you both back, and we'll be catching up with you in the future. So calls to action. Go ahead. Any closing comments from either of you?
well, thank you for organizing this, and it's been great to catch up with both of you and hear what you've been up to. So
awesome. Epitaph, any final word? He always has
the Jello shot is doing fantastic.
I'm glad to hear it's still called Gel Shot. I'm proud. I'm very, very happy to hear that.
That's your fleet
Yes.
carrier, right, Epitaph? The Jello
Yes.
shot? Okay.
She is sitting on about 3 billion credits.
Oh, nice.
So I'm sitting pretty.
And he's
Great.
still out there mining, Jello. He's still out there.
Yeah,
How are you?
I mean, my goal, not to get on the whole big spiel, my goal is to get out there and explore. I'm in that position, but I'm kind of hesitant to jump out there. So at the time, I mean, like right now, I have money and I like to mine, so I'm mining and I'm getting a bunch of stuff on my ship. It's not for me. I'm going to set it up so that you, Wrangler, can snatch it off my ship for anybody that needs it to run missions.
Okay, I'm going to translate that to anyone in the squadron can grab it. Yeah, and we do that a lot. So to Epitaph, that is appreciated. I do like to boost new users, and so because you guys remember when you first started out, you got no money. In fact, one of our new Xbox guys said he couldn't afford things out of the vending machine in Elite Dangerous, and so I'm like, here, have 50 million, And so I've been there, having started from ground zero on 3 platforms. It stays in the back of my mind how hard of a curve it is to get yourself up to a decent ship when you're brand new. So Epitaph, that's great. Thank you for doing that. We'll definitely be taking you up on that. So awesome. Okay, so guys, thank you so much. I'm going to give some information here about the Freelancers before we close off. We do have indeed a Discord server. I will drop the link into the notes, and you can always email me if you want a direct link or reach out to us. We'll get you a direct link if you're wanting to join our group. It's Freelancers Gaming is the squadron. We recently just listed on, I believe it was Top GG, one of the Discord listing services. But you can always reach out to us for that, and we'll get you into the Discord. Web registration, if you're in Elite Dangerous, we are Squadron 5198 on Anara, and I'll put the link in below as well in our notes here as well. That's where we keep our files, our roster, and it's just a sort of a repository of documents. Star Citizen on PC, you can go to robertspaceindustries.com/orgs FRLS for freelancers. Or you can sign up there, and I'm sure Jello and Badger are overseeing that, and they'll welcome you there. In-game squadron signups for Elite Dangerous, all platforms. We are free, FREE on PS4. We are FRLN on PC, and we are FRLR on Xbox. And as I mentioned before, we're FRLS in Star Citizen on PC. Guys, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor talking to you. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Everyone, we hope you enjoyed our first ever Freelancers Gaming in Space podcast, or if you want to call it Spaced Out. I don't care what you call it. But
I like
the Freelancers Spaced Out podcast. The only thing is it doesn't say gaming, or I would have named it that. But the Freelancers Spaced Out Gaming podcast. There we go. Okay, I think I got it. There we go. The Freelancers Spaced Out Gaming podcast. Say that 10 times quick. If you liked it, please let us know. Reach out to us. If you have interest in joining our gaming group, we're focused on space gaming and futuristic gaming. We would welcome you. Otherwise, we'll say see you in space, my friends. And remember, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. This is Wrangler Actual, out.